Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. The updated and expanded second edition of my book, The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments, is now available. Readers can expect to march with Arnie's Army at the 1960 U.S. Open, relive Jack Nicklaus's remarkable 1986 Masters win, and be amazed by the Tiger Slam. The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments. Pick it up where fine books are sold, including BarnesandNoble.com and Amazon.com.
Thrive Suite Productions. And welcome to This Day in Sports History. It's January 4th, and on this day in 1976, George Blanda, the oldest man to ever play in the NFL, played his final game. Blanda is like the Paul Rudd of football. He just never seemed to age. He was drafted by the Chicago Bears in 1949 out of Kentucky, where he played for Paul Bear Bryant. George Halas drafted him in the 12th round, and along with him playing quarterback, Halas put him in at linebacker as well. Blanda admitted that playing for Halas was great, but the legendary coach was also well known for not paying his players very well. And after 10 years in the league, Blanda retired from football due to a dispute over money with Halas and the Bears, and followed the game from home during the 1959 season. And if there had not been a new league starting up, then that would have been it for Blanda, and his name would have been mostly forgotten, and I certainly would not be talking about him today. But the American Football League started up in 1960 as a competitor of the National Football League, and the new Houston Oilers signed Blanda to a contract. Blanda was the first star of the new league, playing quarterback and leading the Oilers to the first two AFL championships in 60 and 61. He was the league MVP in 61 after throwing for 3,330 yards and 36 touchdowns. After playing with the Oilers for 7 seasons, it looked like Blanda's career was over for the second time when the Oilers released the then 40-year-old Blanda. But that's when Al Davis saw value in the veteran and signed him to the Oakland Raiders. Over the next 9 seasons, Blanda played a little quarterback and kicked, though his biggest impact may have been as mentor to a young Kenny Stabler. Stabler was drafted in 1970 after also playing football for Bear Bryant, albeit 20 years later, and when Bear was at Alabama. But on this day in 1976, the 48-year-old Blanda kicked a 41-yard field goal and an extra point in his final game. He played 27 years in the NFL and AFL in 4 separate decades and was elected to the Hall of Fame in 1981. Also on this day, in 1984, Adrian Dantley hit 28 free throws in a game to tie Wilt Chamberlain's record, and in 2012, West Virginia beat Clemson 70-33 in the Orange Bowl. It was the most points scored by one team in a bowl game until 2018, when Army equaled that number. That's all for today. Hey, if you have a moment, rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on your podcast app of choice. And if you know anybody who's looking for another podcast to listen to, let them know about this one. Also, check out the show notes for other ways to support the show if you'd like. Thanks for listening today, and I'll see you tomorrow for another edition of This Day in Sports History.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You could be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you got to do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.